Zaxby's has been perfecting chicken fingers for 30 years. So what now? Now, we go to the sea. Introducing the Southern Fried Shrimp Meal. With butterflied shrimp that's perfectly golden fried. A perfect blend of cocktail sauce and Zax sauce that we call Zax Tail Sauce. Plus perfectly seasoned crinkle fries. Perfectly buttery Texas toast. And even a drink with perfectly pebbled ice. Here's to 30 more years of perfect. The new Southern Fried Shrimp Meal at Zaxby's. Woo, saucy! Zaxby's.
The digital dollar could give the feds control of your money. Get the digital dollar report. Call 1-800-862-6970 and also receive a $1,000 credit from Priority Gold to protect your money. Or just go to digitaldollarreport.com.
Please note the information provided does not constitute financial or investment advice.
77 WABC.
This is Sid and Friends in the Morning.
No, I get by with a little help from my friends.
You know, Benjamin Netanyahu gets the honor of being invited to address Congress in a joint session on July 24th. That's what it's scheduled for. We'll see if it happens or not. What's your reaction to that and the attempt by certain members of Congress to immunize Netanyahu from being even investigated for potential war crimes?
Yeah, again, this is rhetoric and support that's so unwarranted by Benjamin Netanyahu. If you want to support Israel and the people from Israel, you do it by not supporting Netanyahu. I can tell you that. I mean, this guy basically is their Trump, except, he's doing this to stay out of jail. That's the only way he can continue. He has to continue all this to not be thrown in jail for crimes that he's already being investigated on. But what he's done has been crimes against humanity. I mean, killing that many people, this collective punishment, the children, the women who've been killed in Gaza.
Says who, Fatso?
The fact that he doesn't support the priorities of the U.S. I think a lot of us are figuring out what to do. I think there's going to be a big block of us that don't go and probably doing something alternative to get that message across. But I'll tell you, I'm still open if the international courts decide they're going to put out an arrest warrant. I'm available, I may have a better chance of serving him than others because this guy really has done war crimes. And we need to say that vocally because I think my goal is I want people in Israel to know we support people of Israel. We
go up yourself. We don't care what you think.
We want peace in the region. We think a two-state solution is the best.
I think you're an asshole.
Benjamin Netanyahu and Hamas don't represent any of the values I just mentioned. And, we need to send that signal that he does not just manipulate Congress for whatever he wants. And I think that's what we're working on.
Yes, the same kind of story seems to come down.
This is Mick Fleetwood right here, right?
Yeah, it's Fleetwood Mac. It's a different, an earlier incarnation.
Before the Christine McVie, Stevie Nicks singing days.
Yes,
Mick Fleetwood.
Mark Welch, Fleetwood Mac.
Mark Welch. And Mick Fleetwood is celebrating a birthday today, Lewis?
77.
That's he is one of the all-time greats. Mick Fleetwood, 77 years old today, one of the all-time greats. So that was a podcast. Some ass stain in Wisconsin had this big, fat, stupid congressman named Mark Pocan. Never heard of the guy, but he's a jerk-off congressman out of Wisconsin who wants to go arrest Bibi when Bibi comes here in July, if it happens, because I believe it was Anthony D'Esposito or Lawler. Somebody told us last week it may not happen. But if it does happen, he wants to go arrest Netanyahu. This is a United States congressman. And what did he say? So you know what his true colors are. He said, quote, Netanyahu is their Trump. So you know right off the bat, any similarities, any comparisons that are being made between Netanyahu and Trump, and they are very similar, is going to aggravate these congressmen, these senators, because it's all political. This guy Pocan's not Jewish, doesn't know what's going on in Israel, doesn't care. All he knows is Bibi is like Trump, therefore Bibi is no good. So my friend Alex Traiman, who's the CEO of JNS.org, that is the only place you should get your information on Israel. He does an amazing job. He's on with me often. Is here with me again. But Alex, let me read this. Well, first, let me get your response listening to that Wisconsin congressman talking about how he'd like to be the one to arrest Bibi when he comes to Washington, D.C.
Well, how long do you have? I mean, there were so many things that he made in those statements that were wrong. They'd have to be broken apart one by one. But you could see the same way that they treat Trump by criminalizing every move that he makes. It's not that Trump is that Netanyahu is Israel's Trump. It's that liberals want to treat Netanyahu the same way that they treat Donald Trump.
But they are similar in that they're both tough, they're both resolute, they're both under investigation, but they both go about their jobs as if they weren't. And they were very, very close friends, of course, until Bibi came out and publicly made a video supporting Biden. That may change. If Trump wins, I think I'll repair that relationship between Trump and Bibi. But they are very similar in their approach and how they govern, no?
Yes, but there's also key differences because, Trump came from outside of the political system, essentially was a populist type of candidate, which basically because people were not confident in the system, not with Republicans nor with Democrats. That's how a guy like Trump comes from outside the system, swoops in and grabs the presidency of the United States. Netanyahu comes from within the governing body of the state of Israel for many years, and he's been Israel's longest-serving prime minister. And also, Netanyahu is very careful with what he says, always very calculated, almost too calculated to an extent, whereby Trump, as an individual, doesn't really have a filter, right? So they operate in different ways, but they've been grouped together in part because both of them have been put under criminal investigation where the charges are flimsy at best, and because they push conservative policies, so that the liberals they clump them together.
Let's stop it right here. That was a great job, Alex, comparing them and contrasting them, Bibi and Trump. I got to get to this tweet. Alex Traiman tweeted something the other day that has now been retweeted. You ready for this? Over 1 million times. Over 1 million. And what he said was right on the money. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back, go back to Jerusalem. The CEO of JNS.org, Alex Traiman, is standing by where it's getting very, very scary in the northern part of Israel. More with Alex right after this.
I remember a talk about North Carolina in a strange, strange poem. You see, the sides were like glass in the thick of a forest without a road. And if any man's hand ever made that land, then I think it would have showed. And that's why it seems like rain. They got me hypnotized. That's right.
This is Sid and Friends in the morning.
77 WABC.
Let me get to this tweet that Alex put out a couple of days ago that's doing really well. It reads like this. This is when momentum shifted in the war, when photos began to surface of Hamas terrorists and their supporters being arrested, blindfolded, and stripped into their underwear. I knew the end of the war, including the release of hostages, was just weeks away. Yet almost just as quickly, the images stopped appearing, with the Biden administration claiming the images were, quote-unquote, disturbing. These images were actually benevolent and could have saved thousands of lives. Why? If you want to survive in the Middle East, it is critical to understand the Arab culture of honor versus shame. These images completely humiliated Hamas. To destroy Hamas and to make the Palestinians stop supporting them, They need to be thoroughly humiliated by the IDF. The IDF's killing Hamas terrorists in the eyes of Palestinian society is projected as an honor. Those killed are martyrs. To defeat Hamas, Israel needs to create less martyrs and create more losers. In preventing the IDF from publishing the photos and by Israel's adhering to the Biden administration's Western sensitivities and directives, the war has dragged on to the detriment of all parties. And there's a picture here of a bunch of guys blindfolded in their underwear, which for me was as good as porn, to be honest. But pissed off the United States. Thus, to your point, Alex, we've got a longer war. Did you tell me over 1 million retweets? Is he there, Alex? Hello, Alex.
Yeah, I'm here. It's well over 1 million views and many thousands of retweets and likes and tons of engagements. But yeah, I think that people don't realize that by adhering to a lot of the directives of the U.S., that more people are dead inside Gaza, more Israeli soldiers are dead, and the war has taken a lot longer. You know, we saw that with these photos. We saw that with the Al-Shifa hospital, where we know now for a fact that hostages were kept but were moved from there before Israel went in because the United States didn't want them to go into that hospital, and they had to telegraph that attack. And it took more than a week for them to go in because they were waiting for a green light, so to speak. And the same thing in Rafah, where we're finding tunnels and weapons every day, but the United States didn't want Israel to go in, and so Israel delayed that incursion by weeks. So this war is just dragging on and on and on, and more people are dying because Israel's not going fast and furious, and because Hamas sees that the international community, including the United States, is putting all the pressure on Israel. If they would feel that the pressure was going on them, on Hamas, and Israel had all the backing, this war probably would have been over a lot faster.
Agreed. My dear friend, the Congressman Anthony D'Esposito, sends me a text. July 24th has been confirmed. It's at 2 p.m. Netanyahu will speak in the House of the People's House in Congress. In fact, the Speaker of the House was with D'Esposito at a big event for Anthony last night here on Long Island. And Johnson said as recent as yesterday, anyone who disrupts or protests anything on the floor will be arrested as per House rules. So if AOC or Tlaib or Omar, any one of these lowlives tries to do something, Mike Johnson said it ain't going to happen. But, for months, I've told you this since day one, Bibi never liked Barack Obama. I don't think he ever liked Joe Biden, but he was saying the right things. But we kept talking every week, and I would say, I'm telling you, man, it's bubbling. He's mad. And now Bibi he doesn't care anymore. He comes out and does videos where he says, listen, the United States and Joe Biden are stabbing us in the back. Were you surprised to see Bibi come out that straightforward? And if you weren't, were you happy he did that?
Well, he said specifically that the Biden administration was slowing down the flow of weapons to Israel. At first, the U.S. administration said they didn't know what he was talking about, but now it's come out. They're saying, yeah, well, in the beginning of the war, we were fast-tracking weapons, and now we're not doing that anymore. And then we also know that the U.S. held up delivery of 2,000-pound bombs.
Oh, can I ask you why? Because, again, going back to Anthony D'Esposito and me getting kicked out of the State of the Union because I stood up and I screamed at the President of the United States, says who, when he was delivering numbers from the Palestinian Ministry of Health, the Hamas Ministry of Health, as if those were real numbers. Are you telling me the United States has stopped all these deliveries because they're believing those numbers, which actually come from terrorists?
I don't think that that's what it is. I think that for the U.S. administration, that these weapons is the pain point for Israel, and that's the great leverage that they have. So if Israel plays along, then they can get what they want. And if Israel doesn't play along with what America wants, then they say, hey, well, you don't play along, but you're not going to get the weapons from us. And what's interesting with these 2,000-pound bombs is that the reasons they gave, they said that they didn't want Israel to use them in Rafah. But Israel hasn't been using heavy weapons in Rafah, and Israel could have committed to say, hey, we're not using these in Rafah. What they need these weapons for is the impending war against Hezbollah in the north. And so when the U.S. is not replenishing weapons, which can include missile defense systems, the Tamir interceptors that you use in the Iron Dome, and other ammunition, they're basically trying to prevent Israel from going to war with Hezbollah. But that sends a signal of this is sending a very bad signal of weakness to Hezbollah. And I think that Nasrallah is laughing, thinking that Israel doesn't have enough weapons and thinking that the United States is slamming the brakes on Israel's incursion, which just gives Hezbollah the permission to keep firing at Israel with very, very little repercussions.
Forget about Hezbollah. Forget about Hamas. It all leads back to the same place. The same enemy country that Joe Biden has spent 2 administrations working with. Money, loosening sanctions, Iran. That's it. Forget about Hezbollah. They're just a leg of the Iranians who want to destroy Israel every day. Now I'm reading that more and more people are looking to join, Iranian-backed people are looking to join Hezbollah. I saw last week that they said, we haven't even started yet. We haven't even used our good stuff yet. And by the way, it's coming. Israel is in for a real reckoning. And I know that every day it's getting worse and worse, and they still haven't used any of their really good stuff yet. That's all terrifying, no?
Yeah, it's very terrifying. And yeah, Israel knows they have to deal with it, but at the same time, they know that if they do deal with it, that the home front's going to experience something that it really has never experienced before. Certainly nothing that Hamas has done to Israel is anything like the capabilities that Hezbollah has. And it's a scary thought, because now the people are going to have to be diving into bomb shelters, could be there for extended time, could be without electricity. The soldiers have been fighting in Gaza now for 8 months. Many of them are tired, and to think that they're going to now have to go into a much more intensive war phase in the north, that's a difficult situation, and to think that Israel doesn't have the weaponry that it needs is even much more scary situation, and that's the signals that are being sent right now. So, Netanyahu's trying to put on a strong show. He was on Israel's Channel 14 last night, and he seemed calm, he seemed confident and strong, but Israelis have doubts about what this next phase could look like and when it might be.
And my daughter's there now. She's been there for the last 9 days. I know you heard me earlier, Alex. We gave her the choice. Would you rather be bar mitzvah or sweet 16? And we're not a very religious family, so she took what most American girls take. She took the sweet 16. And since we've gone to Israel, I think she would have made a different choice years ago. But the beauty is she's on this birthright trip right now. And yesterday she received her bat mitzvah. Today she's actually at the Western Wall, and she's having the time of her life. She told me and Danielle, Alex, when I'm done with college in Europe, I want to move to Israel. You wouldn't know from Ava's pictures and videos that she is literally right in the middle between what's going on in the south, Judea and Samaria, and the north. She's right in the middle of the most dangerous war zone in the world.
Yeah, it's first of all Mazal Tov on the bat mitzvah. That's very special.
Thank you.
And we need all the prayers. So the fact that she's at the Western Wall now praying, hopefully for peace in this country. This is a nation of people that want peace, that seek peace, that would be willing to give up things that are dear to them to get peace in return. But unfortunately, as you mentioned, you're right. Iran and its terror proxies, Hezbollah, Hamas, and Houthis have made this small tract of land.
Alex, have you ever seen, talking about the Houthis, have you ever seen a terrorist group? This is amazing. A terrorist group make a music video? That is the mockery they're making of Israel, and that is the confidence they've got today. Did you see that music video?
I didn't see the music video.
Yeah.
I got to check that one out.
Yeah, and in the video, they're talking about not just Israel, but all the countries, European countries, United States, that they plan on attacking and destroying along the way. And again, like I said moments ago, it all goes back to Iran, which we know time and time again has been supported by Joe Biden.
Yeah, and who else have they been supported by? By the Chinese, by the Russians. So you have the Biden administration, the Russians, the Chinese, North Koreans, all supporting Iran. What does that tell you? And Iran is the number one state sponsor of terror around the world, and they say openly, death to Israel, death to America. They call Israel the little Satan. They call America the big Satan. And this is who the Americans think is the party that they should be standing behind in the Middle East, as opposed to their ally, which is the state of Israel. And but we have to see. America just said, the Biden administration said that if there's a war with Hezbollah, that their back will be behind Israel, that they will stand with Israel. We saw that there was a lot of missile defense assistance when Iran attacked us. I think that they are committed to missile defense to protect the Israeli home front. But you get the feeling that the Biden administration is happy for Israel to be fighting a war, but never really wants them to win.
Last 30 seconds. When, in fact, the North becomes the go-to, which is happening, it's going to happen. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. What about the amount of soldiers that you guys have? I know you'll take some soldiers out of the South that are battling Hamas in Gaza right now, but will Israel institute a draft? How do you make sure you've got enough men fighting a war that will about to take place on 3 fronts and a big one up north?
Israel will move its troops out of the Gaza Strip, and the Gaza Strip is sealed, so there's not a threat to the Israeli home front at this point anymore from Gaza. So even if they took 100% of their troops out of Gaza, which might not be a great strategy for Gaza, but if that's what they need to do to go to the north, that's what they'll do. On October 7th, Israel called up 300,000 troops, which includes many reservists. Most of Israeli civilians that served in the army until the age of about 45 are in the reserve, so they'll get called back. And so you might have as many as 350,000 troops for a potential operation inside Lebanon. But it's going to be a very different operation than we saw in Gaza, because they're going to have to go very fast and very furious to take out as much of the missiles that Hezbollah has at their disposal to fire, because there's no time, and there's also much less missile defense to deal with these types of weapons and these quantities of weapons. They can overrun some of the Israeli missile defense systems, so they're going to have to go in very strong with everything that they have and try to achieve a victory in very short order, because they just don't have the time to absorb all the blows.
Wow. Hey, listen, man, as always, excellent appearance. And you, Tzipi, and your lovely family, please stay safe. And we talk every day anyway, but we'll get you back on the show very, very soon. Great appearance. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Sid.
My man, Alex Traiman right there, the wonderful CEO, the only place to get your news from Israel, the only place, trust me, is jns.org. Make sure you subscribe today.